go again. Sorry about that, but it was the Amazon man came to the door, and what he'd been bringing me, nothing interesting, no yarn, no nothing like that. I think actually it's, oh gosh, I can't even open it. I think it's some vitamin D tablets I ordered when I went to the GP the last time. I still haven't seen the results yet. She told me I needed to get some vitamin D. So, high strength vitamin D. So let's see if it makes any wonders. She said, as we've not had any sunshine, she's right there. Sun's gone in again, by the way. It's quite windy again today, and the sun is struggling to try and shine, but it's not exactly managing it, yeah. And what else did I buy? Oh, I know. Buy in bulk, buy 3, it was cheaper. I love Pond's cold cream, you know, to makeup remover. And you never see it in the shops. Never see it in the shops, you know, to take all your makeup off, make sure you cleanse yourself. So it was 3 for a price that I thought was quite reasonable. Oh, I love the smell of it. Oh, it smells so divine. I started using it many, many years ago. I think I watched somebody. It was a famous actress. It could have been Elizabeth Taylor or something. Don't quote me. It may not have been her. Who used to take off stage makeup, you know, with cold cream. And stage makeup in the old days used to be made by Leichner, I think it was called. And it was like almost like pan stick. It was really literally grease paint. I mean, nowadays things have evolved and everything, and you know, the makeup, I presume, is of a much higher quality. But bear in mind, you see, nowadays the TVs and the films are such high tech, aren't they? That they show every pimple, every pore, you know, on your face. So you wouldn't get away with plastering this like grease paint, pan stick, whatever you used to call it, on your face. You wouldn't get away with it back now. I can remember reading once that somebody famous, it might have been Marlene Dietrich, it could have been her that used to say, come up and see me sometime. They used to put a little silver chain underneath their chins, you know, fastened to their ears. Give them a chisel chain. I mean, now they'd never get away with it because the camera would pick it up, wouldn't they? And I used to talk to a lady who did stage, well, not stage makeup, TV makeup. We're going back about 40 years. And they used to use a kind of a tape, you know, to give people a, you know, they'd tape it like here, behind their ears and stuff. Of course, because they wore thick makeup, it would cover over with the thick makeup. Again, that's something that you couldn't get away with now, you know, having little pinch clips like that. Maybe I could do with some of that, you know, some gaffer tape, duct tape. So I suddenly appear with pieces of duct tape, you know, I'm taping my wrinkles back. Anyway, I'll go back to what I was saying before the Amazon man knocked on the door. It's a lady called Afraid Upcycling. I'll put the link underneath actually. A-F-R-A-Y-E-D. Not afraid as in scared, yeah. Afraid as in something is fraying, yeah. Afraid Upcycling. And she, oh gosh, it shows inside her studio, and I'm thinking to myself, lots of people who have a bit of OCD would be absolutely horrified with her studio, because it is full of scraps of material, boxes full of scraps and that. But she makes beautiful sort of bags out of putting little scraps together and quilting them all. And she'd even made herself a waistcoat. And one I was watching, she'd made herself like an all-in-one romper suit, whatever you want to call it, with all these patches and that. I'm not clever like that. But as I say, I go down these rabbit holes and start watching all these clever people. Another lady I used to watch was a lady called Myers, M-Y-E-R-S. And she used to upcycle boho things. She made fabulous bags, you know, with all bits of lace and trimmings and appliques and everything. And I'm looking at them and they were fabulous, but I'm thinking, I do not have the patience. You know, If I put together bits of material together, they'd look like I just thrown some bits of material together. But some people have a knack, don't they? And if you look on YouTube, there's lots and lots of people who have these like upcycling videos where they take a man's suit and turn it into something else. My aunt probably could have done all that, although she wouldn't have wanted to put patchworks together. Because back in my generation, if anything was patched, it was because you were poor. You know, it wasn't fashionable to walk about with big rips in your jeans and, you know, big holes, all your knees hanging out. You would have been classed as being extremely poor back in the day, but now it's high fashion. High fashion to walk about with a big patch on something, or your knees hanging out, or worse still, parts of your anatomy from the rear hanging out, which is what the young girls seem to want to do. As my dad would say, do they not have a mirror? And somebody once said, oh, they can wear what they want, that's their prerogative. And my dad said, yeah, but I've got to look at it, you know. And I must admit, when I go out, you know, one of my dad's sayings always comes to my mind. He used to say, oh, the things you see when you don't have a gun. You know. I mean, he would never shot anybody, he never owned a gun. But it's just one of his sayings, like, the things you see when you don't have a gun. When young ladies bend over their babies in the prams and that, and they're wearing these ultra shorts, skirts, whatever. Oh, it's like the total eclipse of the sun, isn't it? You know what I mean? You don't bend, go sideways or something. Don't bend completely over your pram, showing the world your next week's washing, you know. As another of my dad's saying, you're showing your next week's washing. Because that's back in the day when people only used to wash once a week, isn't it? Monday was washing day. I'm so glad you like me talking about my memories, because I can sit here and chat all day, to be quite honest. I was fortunate enough really to have a poor but good childhood upbringing. I don't think it's a question of having a lot of money. I think it's a question of whether you feel secure, whether you feel loved. And I do feel sorry for other people who I know had terrible childhoods because their parents either drank, or they were abusive, or they had rows all the time, and they lived in a house where there was never any food, never any clean clothes, never anything. And I feel fortunate, really, no matter how much or little money we had, we were always kept clean and tidy, you know, and we always had something on the table. It might not have been the best of anything, the best cuts of meat or anything like that, but we always had something on the table. And my mother could always produce bread and butter if you were hungry, yeah? And if you'd say, oh, bread and butter, and she used to say, you can't be hungry if you won't eat it, you know? Because she came from a family of 16 children, so I mean, she was lucky she got bread and butter, but I mean, that's another story, isn't it? But when I hear today's kids going, I want McDonald's, I want this, I want that. No, I don't want that. I want a bag of crisps, chips, do you know? I want this, I want that, I want the other. And I'm thinking to myself, it would do them all good to live in a period of austerity. I mean, I even watched the cookery programmes from like the Great Depression. There used to be a lady, and she's probably long passed away by now, and she used to do cookery programmes on YouTube. She was in America, and she used to do meals like the poor man's whatever it was, and she was about 80 or 90 at the time, so she's probably long passed away. And she would cook how they used to cook during the Depression when they couldn't get anything to eat, you know, and they had to spread everything around, you know. And I keep thinking that it would do the young ones today to go through a period of, you know, austerity where they can't get food, where you have to make do with what you got. I did one time on Facebook put a little thing that was, if I find it again I'll show it to you, the rations that people in the UK got per week, per person. And I did put it up, and it's ridiculously small amount of things like butter and egg and stuff. And I remember a lady saying to me, oh, was that every day? Was that per day? And I'm like, no, that was per week. So the cooks, our grandmas or mums in some circumstances, because I had an older mum, had to be very inventive with what they made. And they had to try to grow things in the garden, you know, a few potatoes, a few carrots, things that they could grow on poor soil, because, you know, you didn't have artificial fertilisers and stuff that you could dig in, you know. You used a compost heap, you know, to enrich your soil, if you could, yeah. But bear in mind, not much was thrown away, so there was not much in that compost heap, believe you me. Every leaf on a cabbage was used. You weren't throwing them away like you would today. Oh, that's got a bit of a spot on it. I'll throw it in the bin. Oh, that looks a bit curly. I'll throw it in the bin. Oh, none of that. No, everything. Every scrap of food was used. Stale bread. No, you didn't throw it away. You made bread pudding with it, with some milk or whatever. And if you could get any dried fruit, like currants or tartlets, whatever, you would put it in with this and make a bread and butter pudding, yeah. Nothing was ever wasted, nothing at all was wasted. Very, very seldom anything got thrown away in our house. You know, you scrape a bit of mould off jam, everybody's going, oh, how horrifying. No, it was just a little bit of mould on the top of the jam, it didn't hurt you, it was penicillin. Scrape it off with a spoon, thin a layer as you could so you didn't waste any jam. And then the jam underneath was fine, yeah. Cheese. A little bit of mouldy on cheese. Just cut it off with a sharp knife, thin as you possibly could. Cut the mouldy bit off. And if it had gone a bit stale and a bit hard, the cheese, you grated it. And you used it with, you made a cheese and onion pie with it. You did something, nothing was ever thrown away. Like all these dates on things these days, you know, oh, it's a day out of date, we can't possibly use it, and unless it's actually growing fur, you know, it's gone green. Oh, I don't know. I mean, people used to keep, like, potatoes, you keep them in the dark and you keep them in brown paper bags, because there was no polythene back in the day. They'd last forever. You get a sack of potatoes. Sometimes you'd have to throw some away because they'd gone a bit off, but you worked your way through this sack of potatoes. It was potato with everything. I mean, I think the Irish cornered the market with potato soup, didn't they? Potato pie, potato everything. I've never actually tried, was it butter potato pie or something? I think that's a delicacy in some parts, yeah. And we were talking the other day about regional dishes that you don't see anywhere else, even in the UK. I mean, I know we're only a small country, but there's regional dishes that you see in different places. Like Liverpool had a dish called scouse, which I think basically just seemed to be you chucked everything in a pan, you know, a pan of scouse. Whereas we would call it potato ash or tater ash, which was just cubes of potato, onions and whatever meat you could find. I mean, now they do it with corned beef. I mean, they used to call it like bully beef, I think, back in... My dad would never have corned beef because they used to import these tins from Argentina, and for some reason or another he wouldn't eat them if they came from Argentina, you know. Don't ask me why. One of his little quirks. So he would never eat corned beef hash, he would never have it. But he would have hash made with probably the cheapest cuts of meat ever. I mean, when I was young, I used to buy, because we didn't have a lot of money when I first got married, we used to buy braising steak or chuck steak or things like that, and it was rough as anything. So you used to have to, what we used to call, well, I didn't call it marinade because that's a posh name for it. You used to soak it overnight, you know, in something. water, anything, and it used to soften up the tendons. As time progressed and I got a little bit more money, I actually used to soak with a drop of red wine. Don't drink red wine, but it's great for cooking. It's great for gravy, even if you're teetotaler, because it burns off, it doesn't stay in the food, it evaporates or does whatever. But if you soak a bit of cheap meat, you know, the roughest cut you can find, in some red wine overnight, it's as tender as anything. I got that tip from my late sister-in-law. She lived out in Saudi Arabia, long before Dubai ever got fashionable, long before it ever got built up. And she said the meat there was dreadful at the time. And she used to soak everything in this red wine, which you had to be careful where you bought it for, because it used to be teetotal in Dubai or whatever. But they used to be able to get wine and things from these American bases. You weren't supposed to bring it off the premises, but smuggle it out in your car, yeah, fine. She used to do that, put red wine and stuff on steak and that, and she said it was so tender when she'd finished you could actually grill it on the barbecue. So I took that tip from her. So if I used to buy a tiny bottle of red wine, because we didn't drink it, just a little bottle of red wine, and it used to be quite inexpensive back in the day, before people used to be wine drinkers every night. At one time wine was something that people bought now and again. Yeah. It was only all these continental holidays where people came back drinking wine, you know. The average British person, you know, we didn't drink wine, you know, we're not foreign, we don't drink wine. But I used to buy these little bottles of red wine and put them in casseroles. Great, just a little splash. I don't mean glug, 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 you know, half of a bottle, like today's chefs do. I remember watching a man, he was called Graham, what was he called? He was called the Galloping Gourmet. And he was well known, he must have been alcoholic, because he was always drinking this wine while he was cooking. And he used to be live on his TV shows. And he always used to sling a load of wine in everything he made. I actually had his cookbook, which I didn't bring with me. The Galloping Gourmet's cookbook. I used to make a dish out of there that was made with pork, and it was really nice. It had like green peppers and things in it. I wish I could remember how I did it. But it was called something like pisto mashengo, or something like that it was called. And it was made with cubes of pork. Even my ex-husband used to like that. And he didn't like a lot of our cooking. Not that I was a terrible cook. But he didn't like it when I varied off the meat and the two veg bit. He liked to see, he always said he liked to be able to christen what was on his plate. In other words, he knew it was a piece of chicken, a piece of chop, a piece of steak. He liked to christen it. He didn't like it when you made like a, although I did manage to get him into stir fries, because he could see it was a piece of chicken in the stir fry. Yeah. But he didn't like it when I used to make casserole things and stuff like that. When I got a bit experimental, as he called it. And he'd say, what's this supposed to be? He wasn't very complimentary about my cooking. And I wasn't a bad cook, but he kind of put me off cooking. You know, when somebody criticises your cooking, like, what's this supposed to be? Or, well, I'll eat it, but don't make it again. You know, it sort of makes you stick to the straight and narrow, really, doesn't it? A chop, mashed potatoes, green beans, something he could see what it was. So I got to be quite, it was only later on after my marriage broke up that I started going into stir fry. Because when you live alone, stir fry is fantastic, isn't it? You just shred a few bits of vegetables or whatever you've got in the fridge, with a teeny bit of chicken, bit of soy sauce, you know, on the way there, and you've got a meal in a few minutes, yeah. Also, it was a good way if I bought shrimps or prawns or whatever you call them, seafood. You only had to buy a handful, like a very small amount. And you spread it out, didn't you, with some noodles and different things, you know. I've never been a lover of pasta. Never been a lover of spaghetti or pasta or anything like that. And now I eat it as little as possible. But Lots of people used to eke out their meals, didn't they, with loads and loads of pasta. Very little meat or anything, and lots of pasta. The only thing I ever used to like with pasta was I used to make tuna pasta bake. You got a package of something, I think it was Coleman's, tuna pasta, and it was like, you made it into a sauce thing with some water, and there was herbs in it and whatever it was. Don't usually like herbs, but I used to like this tuna pasta bake. And then you would have small tin of sweet corn, the bit onions, the bit this tuna, and you put it all in a saucepan, and you cooked it with this sauce for I don't know how, not long, because tuna cooks in minutes, doesn't it? And your sweet corn was tinned, so that took minutes. And then you would cook the pasta separately, and then mix it all together, put it in a dish, layer of grated cheese on top, and then I used to sprinkle up some crushed potato crisps, chips, whatever, crush them on the top. I did used to like that. That was the only way I used to like pasta. I must see if they still make those sauces. I think they were called Coleman's or Schwartz, yeah, not Schwarzkopf's jewellery, isn't it? Schwartz. But it was called a tuna pasta bake, and I used to like that. That's a thought. I might make that again one day. When the family are away, of course, because they probably wouldn't want to eat it. Wouldn't be herby or spicy enough for them. So anyway, I'm going to go. So you've got 2 videos for the browser. One today, thanks to my Amazon man, who came in and disrupted me. So I will put in, well, my order has been delivered. Yes, thank you. I know it has been, yeah. So I've got actually 5 minutes left, but I'm not going to waffle on anymore. I'll try and remember, where does my neckline keep going skew-whiffed? That's better. I will try and put down the links underneath to the people that I watch, you know, in case you want to watch them. And don't forget, you can get this top pattern if you go and buy Stitch and Bitch, the Happy Hooker book. And I have a funny feeling that Angela Best, who designed this, actually put a pattern out. You may find it if you Google Angela Best. I think after, if people, designers put a pattern in a book or a magazine or whatever, after a while the copyright reverts back to them, and then they are allowed to put it out as a single leaflet. So if you don't want to buy the book, but it is a good book, I mean, even if you're a beginner, it's a good book. You might find this, what's it called, sweet and something it was called. I told you before in the other video. Soft and sweet or sweet and something. It's by Angela Best anyway. So if you Google her, I'm sure you will find her. Anyway, I'm going to go now because the dogs have gone for a walk and no doubt they'll be back for me soon. And they always come flying in here, barking, making a racket and a noise, disrupting me. So I'm going to go. So thank you for watching. Don't forget, thumbs up, subscribe, tell all your friends. Ring the notification bell, because sometimes if you're lucky, YouTube will tell you when I've got a video coming out. Bye for now. I'm going to try and finish that flipping cardigan today. Bye for now.